Okay, guys, welcome to the live Q&A for Takedown on March 5th, 2013. So I'm going to be answering your guys' questions. Stadler, our community manager, I have him up on another window, and he's gathered a bunch of questions from the forums and will be feeding me the questions that you guys asked live. We decided to go with Twitch this time after the kind of performance of Vocal last time, and then we'll edit this video and get it up on YouTube after this for all the folks that missed this. Obviously, it's hard for people across the country to come at 4 p.m. Seattle time to get online for this. So appreciate the guys that are watching it live, and hello to everybody who's not. So I'm just going to jump in. I've got some questions that we already gathered from the thread while you guys start typing up everything. And let's see, the first one, let me get a pen so I can remember which ones I've done. Are there any objective type game modes planned, like search and destroy? Yes, objective-based gameplay for multiplayer, I believe, is going to actually be our bread and butter. Currently we have an attack-defend type game mode implemented, as well as team deathmatch. Team deathmatch, which is obviously something we want to provide. The problem with team deathmatch in multiplayer in a non-linear space is a lot of times you can get into a pattern where you just miss each other a lot. What objective-based game modes do is they focus the gameplay. They also provide a lot of variety to the maps because we can have different locations and layouts and different starts that can have a lot of variety. So we do plan objective type game modes, and like I said, I believe that objective-based gameplay in multiplayer is going to be kind of the focus of the gameplay for Takedown. Okay, from the chat, looks like this is from Cobra. Are there any plans for multiplayer lobbies, and if so, what? Yes, we are planning on multiplayer lobbies. We're actually working on that right now. As far as the exact functionality of what the lobby is going to look like, that's still TBD. We're working on it kind of as we speak. We've got the bare bones kind of stuff in with insertion point and weapon selection and things like that, and we're just populating out the other kind of features. Let's see. And yes, Oz, you asked, this is coffee. I drink a lot of coffee, and thank you on live for this beautiful free mug before you had your whatever unfortunately happened. What is your take on different kinds of shotgun shells? I understand there are money. My take is that we want to provide different types of shotgun shells, and that they should interact with both body armor and characters in different ways. So we're actually looking into alternative types of shotgun shells in addition to things like buck and slugs. Things like non-lethal rounds, like the taser shotgun rounds and things like that. Let's see. Have you got a working multiplayer build together yet? If so, how does it play out in the office? Yes, we have multiplayer functional and working. We actually just had a big test with some folks in California last week, so we're running it both on LAN and over the internet. How does it play out in the office? I totally kick everyone's ass all the time, and it's awesome. Okay, yeah, not so much. No, I mean, we were actually just talking about this today. So our community manager played the game for the first time last week, and his initial response was, even at this stage of the project, the core gameplay loop is already there. So the core gameplay of, keeping track of your surroundings, thinking about where you're going, thinking about choke points and routes and different flanking moves in multiplayer is already there. And, especially in the objective modes, the teams that work together are generally the ones that win. So that pretty much means that any team that James is on, they lose because he won't work with anybody. He just runs balls ahead and does his own thing until he gets killed. But so that's how multiplayer. Yeah, there you go. And Brandon likes to team kill people. But yeah, multiplayer's up and running, and we're continually, the way we are developing this game is we get something working as soon as possible, and then we iterate and iterate and iterate. We don't spend a lot of time in meetings or discussions or writing documentation unless it's needed. So that's how we get it done. Do you plan on using the feature that Rainbow Six used so well, kit restrictions? Yes, we do plan on that. Kit restrictions are important for two different reasons. One is the fun feature, where you want to set up a game that's shotguns only or pistols only or something like that for late in the night when you're too drunk to play the regular game. But also certain people will want to host without certain weapons in the game, and that's pretty much always been the case. And so kit restrictions are not a huge feature to implement, and they're currently on the task list for Chris, our UI designer, to work on. Let's see. I'm scrolling through these. Will there be more than one type of throwing grenades, i.e. throw by air or throw on the ground? I think what you mean is an alternative throw system, but not different types of grenades. So you want basically an overhand throw and an underhand throw. We're looking at that right now. I think we have we should have the animation room to do that, and we just need to implement it. Basically, a short throw is a quick toss that just lands it close if you want to throw it around a corner, and then you have your charged full throw. Newbie Boca, how long until we're playing RPS? Well, when I'm done giving the Q&A, we can play some Raven Shield. On the note of team killers, is there a TK punishment system? We haven't gotten into that yet, so we'll be looking at things like TK punishment or host boots. Being a host-based game, generally the hosts are pretty good about booting people or griefers. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go to the list here while Stadler gets some more in. When can we expect more screenshots and a video of gameplay? We're working on some screenshots right now. We've got some more generated. I want to give you guys a look at how facility has come. We're actually just looking at it today and realizing the last screenshot we released of it was from the white box, and quite a bit of work has gone into that. So we're going to look to get that released. Video of gameplay is something that I get asked about a lot, and it's one of the things that's going to be, you should be patient in waiting to see. One of the primary reasons for that is animation. It's very difficult to kind of see past things when animations aren't in, and as we get more and more animations in with things like and features like things like physics-based hit reacts and things like that, the visuals just come well together. And so right now you need to have a good weapon model implemented and animated. You need to have the character animation completely in and synced and timed, and then of course you need to have the level arted out to get a good idea of what's going on. And so when those assets aren't there, when those things are missing, it's very easy to infer something that's not going to be the case, and that's why we're more frugal with gameplay video. Although we do have a funny video of everybody jumping into a pool and dying and floating. I'll post that up here this week. Let's see. Okay. Where will Takedown fit on consoles, meaning now and next gen? That's a question we're going to get a lot, I'm sure, over the next 6 months. There's been no change in our current planning for development, and we will let you know if that changes. Can you crack doors open like in R6 rather than just open close? Assume you mean like, I believe that was implemented in Raven Shield. I think we're looking at a different system. The current contextual action system that we have planned right now allows you to essentially crack the door and frag through it. That may also allow you to crack the door and look through it. We're still working on that contextual action system. We actually we're doing a door test map right now on all the different things and how you can interact with doors. Doors are obviously a very important gameplay element in a CQB environment, and so we want to make sure that we allow the most interaction and also have the least amount of bugs that can be introduced or glitches and problems that you've seen in other games with doors and things like that. So. Will the game have a deep story? Hey, Stadler, can you start putting people's names on these so I can shout out? Will the game have a deep story or a relatively light story with each mission being its own story? Basically the latter. The plan is that each mission will be fleshed out with the backstory of what's happening, why you're there, obviously things like objectives and rules of engagement, and that'll be fleshed out. We're not currently planning on an overarching villain or story. Some of the missions may end up being interlinked, and there may be interlinked elements within the different story, within the different missions, but not a big, like I've said many times in the past, not a big bad, vaguely Eastern European bad guy with a nuclear weapon that you have to find in his super mountain fortress. Excuse me. Okay, now we got some names on there. Will the HUD be minimalistic and realistic, or at least adjustable? HUDs in general aren't realistic. I don't have any floating things in front of my eyes, but we are planning to keep it minimalistic. We're not going to be adding. We're not planning on adding things to the HUD that would be like visual fluff to try to make it look like you're looking through a pair of goggles or having cool blue outlines like on some other games, and we do plan some amount of adjustability. We haven't detailed exactly how much that is yet. Duke, will you be able to shoot through doors or other drywall like surfaces? We're actually on our current milestone, right, James, on bullet penetration? Yeah. So we're iterating on bullet penetration right now. I think we're working on a first pass. Well, actually, our first pass was just being able to make something completely bullet transparent, which of course works fine. But we're working on an actual penetration system right now. So that is on the table. Gymnaz. Is there going to be a mission creator generator, kind of like SWAT, where you can pick a map, types, a number of enemies and hostages, or go random? As far as a generator, that might be out of scope. We do plan multiple gameplay modes per level, as well as additional ways to play the missions. And obviously the game modes are more randomized with some control based on difficulty of things like how many enemies or how many bombs you need to disarm or things like that. So hopefully that answers that question. Skipping past me every time. Okay, Wilbo. Will there be arresting in multiplayer like SWAT 4? Sorry about that, Wilbo. We're still looking at that. We are currently planning some missions that would require non-lethal, but we need to get non-lethal in prototype before we can commit to it. Oh, you're asking about multiplayer. I need to go back and look at SWAT 4 and see what the arresting in multiplayer to see what that would feel like. So I'll have to look at that. All right. Sorry, I'm reading the chat log. SWAT 4 next community gaming night. Sounds like a plan, Gavin. We will play SWAT 4 on the next community gaming night. Someone write that down. Let's see. has anything changed on the project since your partnership with 505 Games? I figured that would be a question that would come up. Short answer is no. So yeah, we're still working on the same game we were working on before. One of the things about 505 is that they're bought into the story of this is really a community-driven game, and appreciate the fact that it's not just about the Oz. What about the long answer? It's not just about us coming with a pitch. It's that we come with a pitch in a community, in a market that's hungry for this game and motivated for this game, and have shown how motivated that they are. So as far as that, like I said, the decisions that we're making for this game are the same decisions that we were making 3 months ago. Godson, are the multiplayer maps going to be specific to a certain game mode? Please say yes. No. No, our plan is that all of the game modes would be playable on all of the maps. Now, what we plan to do, Godson, why do you want all the modes to be specific on? I don't understand why you want that. Tell me why you want that in chat, and I'll answer why. The plan is to have basically what I'm calling cut-down versions of the maps, or modified versions of the maps that are available in different game modes. So there may be a version of, for example, in Biolab right now, there's a version of it called Labs, which is only the lab portions in the lobby and blocks off the garage, generator room, and the roof, and that's because it one was too big in team deathmatch, although it was great for attack defend. So we'll have those multiple versions available, and they'd be available in different game modes, and you'll be able to choose from those. Yeah, we don't plan to limit the game modes to only certain maps, because if you don't like the game mode on that map, then you have the option to not play that game mode on the map. But if we don't include it, then you don't ever have the option to play it. So, kind of about that. Excuse me. Slayer ready. Do you have the ability to lean like in Rainbow Six to minimize a possible target to the enemy? Yes, we have lean implemented right now. Actually, in the latest, well, we haven't released that screenshot, but when we do release that screenshot, it has leaning in. The animation looks pretty funky right now, but it functions, and it's pretty much a key element of gameplay in both single player and multiplayer. KT Cobra, has Unreal Engine 3 allowed you guys to create what you really wanted so far? Yes, so far it has. Unreal Engine UE3 allowed us to... sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat log. Has Unreal Engine 3 allowed you guys to create what you really want so far? Yes. UE3 got stood up very fast. Multiplayer was functioning very quickly. We have engineers that have worked extensively in Unreal in the past, and then me and Nathan hadn't worked in Unreal directly for mission scripting, but because we were both experienced scripters, picked up the mission scripting very quickly. The artists seem to like it. It's got a lot of powerful options and effects that they're very simple to turn on, like the real-time reflections that you saw in the last screenshot that we released of lobby. Depth of field, things like that. So it's been a really good engine to work with, and it's been really helped to keep an iterative pace. One of the things, being a small team, on a tight budget, we have to be as nimble as possible. And so any time that the game is down, like it was a big deal that the game was down for about 6 hours last week, as we were coming to the end of a sprint. And so, we can't afford to not having the game up and running every day, and Unreal has allowed us to do that. Let's see, did I miss someone? Flogger, will injured or knocked down AI units be able to get up if not restrained, as in SWAT 4 and the regiment. That's something we're still looking at. Whether you need to secure the players. Like right now, we currently have it on the plan to be able to zip tie guys, which would take them out of the fight. But we have to look at the AI repercussions of that. Necropotence. How deep will character customization be? We're still looking at that. We've got a new character artist working contract for us that's working on a new rig for the base player models. We have the first draft of that, but it'll be a few more weeks before we get that complete, and then we just have to look at the scope. The base line implementation that we plan on is obviously light, medium, heavy type implementation with different races is what we hope to do, and then male or female. As far as whether we're ever going to get to the point where you're moving your radio pouch from your belt to your chest and doing all that. We're focused on the gameplay first, so that's really what I call a scopable feature. We got to get the gameplay in before we add some candy. All right. Need some more questions, Eric? All right. I'll just pick one out of here. Oz. System in place that would detect a bullet in a chamber. That means if you reload something, that's in the plans. There's a design written for that. In this sprint, we're implementing the magazine system. So obviously, we want magazine-based reloads instead of a pull-based reload that you'd see in standard first-person shooters. So you'll have a magazine system. And so, the plan is if it's a closed bolt weapon and you swap a mag, if you had, it would leave a round in the chamber. And obviously, open bolt weapons don't function that way. And the different weapons will handle based on the type of weapon that they are. If we have any open bolt weapons, will weapon customization feature rails for foregrips, bipods, laser designators, and tack lights? The current plan is to have 3 attachment points. I've said this a couple times before. Is that you have your optic, you have your magazine type, and then you have your muzzle attachment. So as far as further customization, obviously we're going to have things like foregrips, and we're still investigating flashlights and what those cost. So again, that's a scopable feature beyond the gameplay affecting type things. I don't really like it when there's I never really liked it in Ghost when we had like laser designators on all the weapons and they didn't do anything. So okay, Termless wants me to skip his question. Okay, why? What was the question? Okay. Who's the incredibly attractive person behind me? Well, that would be Brandon. Say hi, Brandon. Wave at the screen. He's one of our engineers. Let's do a tour, guys. You guys are all dressed to be on the internet today, right? Oh, come on. You guys want to see everybody in the office, right? Say yes if you want to see the people in the office. Okay. Nobody's saying yes, but I'm going to do it anyway. Oh, let's see if I can do this. I have a giant laptop. There's James. Hey, guys. Andy and Nathan wave. Yay! There's our cool takedown sign that someone made us. Thanks someone who made us this takedown sign. There's Terry. Oh, and then Tiffany's not here. Oh, I can't get to Diane. Okay. Oh no! What did my monitor do? Oh no! I just. Oh. Okay, I can't trust the chat people. They're all telling me different things.
If anybody can't see it, they just need to refresh.
Okay, Nathan says you got to refresh if you can't see it.
Well, they won't have heard you say it.
Yeah, they can't hear me say it.
You can't hear me, just refresh.
Okay, all right. Okay, that was a bad idea. All right, back to the Q&A. Yeah. This is why I do PR, because I'm really good at this. Will reticle reduce when you crouch or walk slow when shooting from the hip, like SWAT 4? So, accuracy and recoil are both affected by stance and movement. And so, basically, but it's affected on a per weapon basis. So, for example, a pistol is inaccurate, but you don't gain any. Well, you gain a little bit. You gain a little bit of accuracy on a pistol from crouching or stopping. All weapons are pretty inaccurate when moving. But for example, the sniper rifle is very much affected by stance. So you get a big accuracy bump when you're crouched and not moving. If you're running standing with the sniper rifle, you're not going to hit shit. So basically, yes, stance and movement speed or movement period affects both the accuracy and can affect the recoil on the weapon based on the weapon. So different weapons, it affects it different ways. Crouching with an MP5 doesn't dramatically change things, but crouching with a sniper rifle affects things more. All right. If I can bring this chat window back up. What pricing method will be used? F2 pay with a cash shop or pay once with expansion packs? We are not currently planning on freemium. Character fashions, how many hats are they? Well, unless we start selling hats, because I hear that TF2 makes tons of money on hats, so maybe we'll do hats. Termless, why NP answer my question? How will you simulate recoil? Jim, how will you simulate recoil? Artificial reticle bloom or screen shake? Artificial reticle bloom and screen shake. Recoil affects your aim point. Accuracy affects the accuracy of the weapon. So just like if you are firing a weapon, you have a cone of fire based on the accuracy of the weapon. So it is an artificial system. That is very correct. But it is an artificial system based on realism. Because we are not like I've mentioned a million times. It looks like we're not a simulator. Termless has a question. All right, Termless. Will there be different types of enemies that you will encounter? Example, like raiding at a biker clubhouse and they're wearing clubhouse colors. Yes, there will be different types of enemies that you will encounter based on the location. That is the plan. So different locations based on the scenario. For example, if we had a cargo ship that was jacked by Chechen rebels, we'd have Chechen rebels. If the mission was jacked by Somalis, then we'd have Somalis, that kind of thing. So there, we got your question. All right. What should we expect in terms of the multiplayer planning phase from KT Cobra? I've seen this kicked around in the forums quite a bit. Some multiplayer planning ideas of being able to draw on the map and those kinds of things. I have to admit that's a pretty relatively low priority feature. You have to remember, especially on UI, UI is a finite resource. We can only spend so much time, and so we have to. Sorry, Kenny. Okay, this looks like this chat area seems to be post until someone sees it, so repeating. Guys, I'm reading questions off that Stadler's sending me. So, something like that isn't a super high priority feature. If it was something that we could implement at fairly low cost that we felt that would get used, then we would look at it. That's the key when it comes to these kinds of features. Is there can be all sorts of cool features, but one, they need to contribute to the game in a meaningful way, and we have to believe that people are going to use them. And so that's how features are evaluated. We don't just implement features because we think they're cool or that they're neat. It's that we feel that they fundamentally impact the game and will be utilized by players. So that's not saying that we won't have it, but it would be on lower priority than things like polishing the lobby, making sure chat window works well, polishing the in-game action UI so that it's the best that it can be. Those are the kind of choices you have to make, especially when you're indie and you have a small team. We have one UI designer, and all the UI is going to be built by one person. And so everything that he does can come out of something else. And so it's very important that we prioritize the features correctly. Gavin the Magnificent, will this be released on Steam? We haven't announced which PC portals that we're going to be releasing on, but when we do, you guys will be obviously the first to know. We've been contacted by multiple PC distribution platforms that are interested in the game. It'll primarily be a business and compatibility thing that we look at a little bit later down the road. What about the NVG Monkey Murdy? What about the NVG green screen view? Do you have a resource for that? Yes, that's actually because it's a post-processing effect and lighting indicator. That would actually probably be done by Mark, who's our lighting guy. He's done our current post-processing effects, and when I say post-processing, don't freak out. It's just to make the game look good, not to have all sorts of crazy stuff going on. But Duke, you seem to be asking questions that I've answered a million times, but I will still answer them. So something like night vision would be a resource that's taken on, and we do plan currently for some form of night vision. So Duke, yes. Will there be any game mode options that support respawns? We're not planning any multiplayer game mode options at launch currently. And the reason for this, like I've said a few times, is that respawn game types require additional features for balancing to deal with things like spawn camping and problems that go along with that. While the feature itself is supported by the engine and currently we can turn it on right now and it functions, there are a lot of gameplay elements that are needed to support respawn gameplay, and we feel that focusing on the core gameplay round-based is the most important thing. Now, that being said, we have very quick rounds. We're not talking about 400 by 600 meter maps here. These are smaller CQB spaces, and so time to contact is very quick. You have enough time to kind of pick your route and pick your line of attack, but matches, especially the objective-based matches, can be over very quickly because the game is extremely lethal, and so you don't get a lot of you don't get very many long drawn-out firefights. So matches are pretty quick. That keeps them moving around. I was a little concerned about that in the beginning with not having respawn, but the matches just move. And of course, the host can control kind of the speed of the matches by the size of the map he chooses and the objective and the gameplay modes that he chooses. If he wants to have longer matches, and he can choose more of a deathmatch style map on a larger map than an objective-based map on a smaller map. Kenny 1550. What is the control stream right now? Well, this second it's W moves you forward, A is left. It's WASD, Q and E to lean, F to reload, R to reload, F to fire, change the fire rate, Shift to run, double tap W to sprint. Mouse moves the C to crouch. Mouse moves the the little thing that you point around. Sorry. It's pretty standard control scheme right now. But we're still playing with things. Getting things. We're prototyping Sprint right now, and how that feels. Whether we want to go with Sprint or not. Prototyping those kinds of features, and then prototyping the control scheme. We just got in the initial interface interaction. Contextual menu for our contextual action system. Brandon was working on that today, and our initial implementation of how the mouse interacts with it wasn't working as well once it went from scale form to in-game. So those are the kinds of things that we continually integrate. Kenny, wait, so you're using Rockstar Sprint by tapping W? Oh my god! That's our first implementation. Don't worry. Jeez. Gudik, we implement body awareness, fear, mirror's edge. That again is something that we're looking at as a scopable issue. Full body awareness. It's quite an expensive feature. It's more expensive than we originally thought when we started looking at it. Brandon's defending. It's double tap to go into Sprint, not constantly tapping W. Tap 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 tap. And you have to sprint. The faster you tap W, the faster you sprint. That'll be awesome. Okay, sorry. Body awareness. So that's again a scopable feature. Termless, when you get shot in the leg, do you bleed out or slow down? That's a common question, arm shots and leg shots versus torso shots. So we do have in the physics system and the damage system, we have the various body regions hooked up and implemented in the game. But we haven't quite determined, the form of, lowering your accuracy is pretty easy in an arm hit, or even a torso hit. How we implement movement change based on leg damage and what we do for leg damage is something that is going to be driven by iteration and prototyping. So I can't give a firm answer on that. One of the problems that we had in Ghost was people would get gimped. They get shot in the leg and then they just quit, because they didn't want to run around being gimped anymore. So we actually, and it's also got a animation impact, because you can have a lot of upper body animations that are independent of leg animations, and so you have to take that into account. So we are looking at some type of obviously things are going to affect accuracy, but how much or how we implement a limp or movement restrictions based on wound damage is still up in the air. Since you're using Unreal Engine, can we expect to see heads explode like Gears of War? Well, I'll actually take that question seriously and talk to Gore level. I don't know if I'd have addressed that in a Q&A before. Gore is something that people ask about a lot, and we're not planning on an extensive Gore system or gibs, or exploding heads or things like that. It's not where we're focused on at all. We need to be able to provide enough feedback to the player that a hit has taken place, and the difference between a penetrating body armor hit, a flesh hit, obviously a kill shot or a wound shot. You want to be able to determine based on either effects or animation that when you shot the guy in the chest with your jacketed hollow point 9mm, that round hasn't gone through that heavy body armor. Okay, we got about 18 minutes here. Footsteps will sound. This is from Duke. Will footsteps be the core way to find people like in Ravenshield? Footsteps are extremely important. We actually just got different material passes on footsteps hooked up, which will be great. So you can have different audio levels based on the based on the ground material that you're walking on. And the other day when we were playing, it was actually a couple playtests before, and I was playing with I think it was Terry on Biolab, and I kept poning him and killing him, and we realized he didn't have his headphones on, so I could hear him coming up the stairs, but he didn't have any audio plugged in. He was playing purely by visual, and I was getting the kill shot over and over and over again. So audio is really important. It's important to be able to hear, when people are around the corner, when grenades get thrown out. We're not going to be putting little grenade doohickey indicators to let you know that there's a grenade next to you. Those kinds of things. So audio is extremely important. Flogger, what kind of non-lethal grenades are going to be implemented? Will the effects between a flashbang or tear gas be different? That's still to be scoped. Flashbangs are next on the list to be implemented. If we do implement additional types of non-lethals like stingers or CS or something like that, then the effect would be different. Primarily in dealing with how you would want to utilize them when dealing with either civilians or hostages. One of the downsides to flashbangs is that they can kill you if they go off in the wrong place. My understanding is, never having utilized one, that a stinger or sting ball grenade is better than that, but obviously a concussion or flashbang grenade in an enclosed space has non-line of sight effects that a sting ball would be blocked by certain things. Let's see. Oh, Gavin says that sting balls are very lethal in an explosive space. Well, I need to do more research on the sting ball grenade. Extremely. Are there plans to utilize surveillance gadgets like fiber optic cams and the SWAT mirror wand for player use? That's from Monkey Murdy, and the Showbit7777 gets credit for the question. We're still looking at that. We're calling those our gadgets. So we looked at what's that called? Putting a texture. What's that called, Brandon? We were looking at putting the texture on an object. Texture mapping or view. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we're looking at whether you can render. We looked at rendering a texture onto an object, camera texture onto an object, and that's possible in the engine. So we're still looking at that. A whole range. We're looking at a whole range of gadgets like that, whether they be surveillance or trap-like noise generators, footstep generators, things like that, to be able to distract players and use in tactical ways. Gavin the Magnificent, will there be incendiary weapons such as white phosphorus or Molotov cocktails? Probably not. I don't. Fire is a pain in the ass to implement, and obviously implementing. We want to be realistic in how we present things and plausible, and the effects of white phosphorus on the human body are not something that I want to implement or even look at. And the gameplay effects are such that Willie Pete is insta death, right? There's no difference between getting covered in Willie Pete as there is in taking a buttload of shrapnel from a frag grenade up close. The end result is you're pretty much instantly dead. And so yeah, like Kenny mentioned, we'll leave that to Spec Ops line. That was kind of their thing. So let's see. Jim says flamethrower plus CQB equals fun. Yes, I'm sure it would be. Domino99, is the third-person camera position of PS3 version already decided centered shoulder view? I assume you mean in relation to instead of an over-the-shoulder view. I would say no. The camera placement for PS3 has not been decided. So I have a pretty good idea of what PS3 gamers want, but if you haven't gone on and maybe the mods we could make a poll on what kind of camera that you want to see, keeping in mind that this is a CQB game. So let's see. Wolbo, will there be team cams you can flick through like SWAT 4? I've been asked this quite a few times. Again, that's a scopable feature. One of the things you have to take into account is that when we did Crosscom on GRAW, it was pretty heavy memory budget hit because you're rendering the scene multiple times, and that's why the screen had to be so little. It had a lot of things turned off on it. It was kind of a nightmare. But it did affect the end look of the product, because the texture and materials budget, memory budget, had to be lower as far as what could be loaded in memory at any one time. If it's full screen, that's much more of a doable thing, because then you're just swapping out what you're actually displaying. Picture in picture is more challenging. A lot of times people make the mistake. They think, oh well, technology's gotten better. The game engines and the hardware are much more powerful. So if something was done years ago, it should totally be easy to be redone right now. And while that's technically true, you have to remember that the memory budgets and the memory usage and the amount of things that were drawn on screen are much more than they were 5-10 years ago. So just because something was done in a game that ran at 800 by 600, while it's functionally, yes, doable, there are impacts and effects on the game. Like if you've been on the forums and you've paid attention to the split screen discussion, that's the same kind of thing. If you're going to be rendering the scene twice, what are you going to do? Are you going to, spend the engineering time to enable features like dynamic shadow dithering to be turned off in split screen, and so shadows look crappy in split screen but they look better in single player? That's an engineering hit from a development standpoint. Or are you going to lower the entire on-screen budget for the entire game and make split screen your basis so that split screen runs the same as the main game, but the whole game looks worse because you've had to lower all your resolution, all your geometry budget, and things like that. So, so let's see. Hope that answers your questions. See, we got about 10 more minutes. Speaking of shadows, will we be able to see shadows around corners, etc.? Yes, that is the plan. In fact, right now I think we have a bug where you can see shadows through walls. That is not the plan. But yes, shadows can be an important gameplay element. Light, I got on one of our maps is set outside, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's dawn or like getting close to dusk. It's more dusky than dawn, I guess. Dan's nodding. The sun's pretty low in the sky, and I was playing, and I came up and crested the stairwell, and the sun got completely in my eyes, and there was a tango in there, and he took me down. If I had gone the other way and come up with the sun at my back, I'd still be alive, which is a pretty cool feature. It feels good when that kind of stuff happens. Let's see. My thing was Stadler. Oh, no. Okay, Stadler gave me a bunch more questions, I think. Let's see. Will VoIP be used, and if so, will Tango be sensitive to this when they hear chatter? VoIP is something that we're still looking at as far as whether we have our own service or we utilize a third party for that. We're still looking at VoIP in game. Obviously, we have to implement it for consoles at some point anyway. So we're still looking at that. Flogger, will there be 3D scopes like in Red Orchestra? That's what I was talking about before. That we were looking at that with the with mapping a view to a texture, putting it on an object. But we're still looking at how we're going to implement that, or whether we're going to implement that. Let's see. Reckless Rock, are you looking at combat rolls, dives, falling back into sitting position, etc.? All those kinds of things are scopable features. Like, I think I've been pretty clear that prone is still a scopable feature in and of itself. We don't want to commit to features until we feel that we can fully commit to them. So that kind of thing is, again, scopable. I think if you, I was watching some videos of tactical intervention, and it has the kind of diving roll, and it looks like that's going to be like the new bunny hop. Cobra and Wolbo don't want prone, so it's their fault if you don't get it. Yeah. So I don't know what I was talking about. So you have a playable build at the office. Any chance to have the alpha in the near future? We have not announced when we will have a playable available to our community. When we do announce our plans for that date, don't expect them anytime in the next few weeks. Like I mentioned earlier, there's still a lot of content that needs to go in for playability for people to, there's challenges when you can't stand over someone's shoulder and say like, oh yeah, you have to reload grenades right now, so sorry, that's broken, that kind of stuff. So Gymnast, will AI react to sound and or panic and blind fire at noises? SWAT 3 AI did something like that. AI are currently reacting to sound, so they can hear obviously footsteps and gunshots, and they will react accordingly. Whether they panic and blind fire at noises, we'll have to see. Soapy Luggage, have you seen the stances in Arma 3 Alpha? I have not. I'll have to look at that. I just saw the video where the guy gets undressed, which was interesting marketing video, where they played like love music and stripped naked in front of a Humvee. All right. Monkey Murdy, how many levels are white box at this time? I know you're probably keeping the levels secret. I just want to know how many Mark has worked on to get me excited. I'm keeping the number of levels secret. But we have quite a few more white box than we've shown so far. Deanne actually just she got her first one up, second one. She got a few. So, but it's a secret. I'm not very good at secrets, am I? Gavin, will you be stripping naked in front of a Humvee for us? No. Jim's, will there be zombies? Probably not at launch. That's all I'll say about that. Termless, how many weapons are in Takedown so far? How many currently implemented? We have 7? I think 7 right now.
7 if you include
Yeah. Anyway, that's how many are currently implemented, and we've got the design docs, and the important thing is at first was to get in the capabilities that we needed to make the weapons feel different. So first between classes, assault rifle, submachine gun, sniper rifle, shotgun, handgun, we got those in first, play tested and made sure that they could feel different enough. Obviously based on how these things handle. Then the ammunition system, so we can have the varied ammunition, your JHPs, your FMGs, your APs, and then implementing that with a body armor system and how that affects the characters. Getting rid of health points and going to a kill-based system rather than a health-based system. Now that we've got those fundamentals in, we can start adding variety to the weapons, and obviously building weapon models is an important part of it as well. So that is the current count. All right. Are you going to be playing Raven Shield with us? Yes, I will be playing Raven Shield. I installed 1.6 something today on my new laptop. That I hadn't put it on this machine yet, so we've got it, and we'll see if it works. Okay, let's do, it's 4:57. Let's go ahead and do two more. Flogger, what is the current development on weapon and character collisions? We're looking at that. Joe's looking into, on our dev list right now is looking at weapon collisions and how those are going to function. Character collision is, there's different types of collision in the game. There's obviously bullet collision, which is based on a physics model of the character. Then there's environmental collision, which is based on a collision cylinder, and that kind of thing. So, but we're looking into various methods for weapon collision. And that was Flogger. So thank you, Flogger. All right, last question. Let's get a slew of last questions. I'll wait for people to post. Okay, well, if nobody else has any. I'm kidding. Okay, that's a good one. The best memory you have of a tactical shooter. I think that's a good one to end on. The best memory that I have of a tactical shooter, there's a couple situations, but the one that always comes to mind was the first time that we played Rainbow Six, the original Rainbow Six, at a LAN party at my buddy Elliot's house. And I believe there were 6 of us, and we were doing Embassy. And I remember the first thing he did is that we were going in and we were talking about what to do, and he said, was Andy walking around with guns? Andy's walking around with guns. The first thing that he said is he goes, first thing we do is announce our presence, and he fires his M16 up into the air with no suppressor, and within about 15 seconds, all 6 of us were dead. And the impact of that experience on me, having come off of, playing a lot of Quake 2 and Q3 Test and, StarCraft, and even the more hardcore games like Battle of Britain, was a huge impact. Seeing co-op, seeing non-linear gameplay, the ability to choose and the ability to fail, really adds to a tension level that you don't get in a linear crafted cinematic experience. I can only watch so many buildings blow up and helicopters crash in front of me before I just want to puke my brains out. But actually having choice, that's why I really like games like Fallout, or even games like StarCraft and things like that really embrace the player, making decisions and having that opportunity to fail, backed up by the realism. So that's the kind of features that we want to, or the kind of experiences that we want to embrace in Takedown and support. So okay, well, with that, it is 5:01. Thank you guys very much for coming. We're still working on bears. Lots of you asked about bears, so we're still looking at the bear implementation. So thank you for the questions, and thank you again to the Kickstarters, the supporters, the community. Be sure, if you're watching this on YouTube, to check out our webpage at Cerealin.com. You can check out our YouTube channel at Cerealin. You can follow me at Cerealin. You can follow the game at Takedown the Game. And what else? What other social media things am I supposed to talk about? Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, our Facebook thing is really small. You guys should go like us on Facebook. There's, I believe it's Cerealin LLC. So search for Cerealin on Facebook, and because everybody's getting Eric crap for not like social networking as well. So make Eric look good. Okay, well. With that, we're going to edit this video and get it up on YouTube, and thank you very much, and I will be hopping over into Ravenshield, so I will see you guys later.